Let's not keep the people in suspense.
No,
any
let's
longer.
not. Let's talk about happenings. All right, so, you taping?
Don't believe it, just watch.
A bunch of sea lions sunbathing.
So, as you just said, let us not keep people in suspense. About what, Catherine? What might you be talking about?
Well, 3 options. Now, if you didn't see the video that we posted on Facebook and Twitter and Patreon, then you don't know what the world we're talking about. So we'll give it to you also. So for those of you who haven't seen the video, something big is happening in our lives. Something really big. I mean, really big.
It was either, for the video viewers, they saw
There
they
are
had
three things.
3 choices. One is that I took a job in North Georgia. Catherine is leaving. Number 2 is Catherine's leaving her nursing career here in Swainsboro to go back to go to midwifery school, or 3, she was leaving her job in Swainsboro.
Yes.
To
Well,
pursue.
we were both leaving our jobs in Swainsboro so we could go do the RV thing.
Catherine's going to do travel nursing. We're going to buy an RV. We're going to hit the road, man. We're going to hit the road, Jack.
So what I have to say is, I wish it were number 3.
Okay, so it's not number 3.
It's not number 3.
We are not buying a big honking camper or even a reasonable sized camper and traveling our great nation.
No, in fact, we're selling our camper.
Yes.
It's in the backyard. It's on Craigslist right now if you want it.
And yeah, look that up, please. And the other, I think you would probably. I don't know if you'd wish it was the other one. Or I don't think you.
I don't.
I don't know.
Do you wish it was the other one?
No, I don't. This is not a slight. I don't know that you have the guts to do.
It's not about
that.
guts. It's that it's just not my thing.
And we don't live in a market
No.
where that would be doable.
No, I don't think so.
So midwifery school is out,
It's not that one.
which means that I've accepted a job in North Georgia.
Dun dun dun.
And it would be a 4-hour commute if we continued to live here in Swainsboro.
Every day.
Every day.
So that would be a problem.
Gas prices like they are, that's not going to happen.
We love the truck, but we don't want to run it to the ground.
Yeah. So I have accepted the job as media specialist at North Forsyth High School in Cumming, Georgia, which is in Forsyth County. It's about an hour northeast of Atlanta.
All of that is true.
And so this has been about 3 weeks in the making for us.
Which is, okay, so that's crazy, right? So here's how the whole thing started. Mac had gone to his parents' house, we talked about this a few weeks ago, to help his mom, and help with his dad because his mom had to have some minor surgery done on her nose to remove a skin cancer. So Mac had driven over to Blakely to help them out. And while he was there, we got a phone call at the house. And it was this woman named Lucy. And I don't know if you remember me, Mac, but would you please give me a call?
Well, Lucy was my faculty advisor and like portfolio supervisor when I was getting certified as a media specialist. And she had been, someone had reached out to her, and that someone was the lady who is the director of media, like specialist, media coordinator for Forsyth County Schools, saying one of their high schools, they're losing a media specialist. She's going back to the classroom, and the principal has expressed a need and a want for someone who's different, is dynamic, and just kind of thinks out of the box and stuff. And for whatever reason, mine was the first name she came up with. As far as I know, the only name. I don't know that for a fact. But
either.
so Catherine gave her my cell phone number. She reached out to me at Mom and Dad's. I said, yes, please give her my name. A couple of days later, North Forsyth High School. What?
Well, I was going to say we should say, like, tell people why would you even say, yeah, sure, I'd be glad to talk to them? Like, I mean, maybe people think we're perfectly settled here in Swainsboro. Why would
we kind of are.
Why would you even say yes to that?
Well, what I told Lucy on the phone was I would be a fool to not even explore a possibility just to see what's out there.
Because we've been talking about it. You've been saying you're a little bit bored in your job.
Well, I was getting to that. That would be my next point.
Okay.
So, 1, it would be foolish to just throw away an opportunity without even considering it. And 2, frankly, I've been a little bored in my current position. And
that's not a slight at Swainsboro High School. It's just the kind of jobs that they need you to do.
Right. And I'm kind of one of these people that I am an un-Greg. Greg is constantly challenging himself That dude is never sitting still.
That is true. He's always painting or
And
writing or something.
I need someone to challenge me in order to get me going. I'm not intrinsically self-motivated that way. So I don't think Swainsboro High School does that enough for me to feel true satisfaction in my job. And there are some aspects of the town that we live in that we would rather not deal with. Not the lack of opportunity that our town provides for our children. In some respects, we are not satisfied with.
Well, and I think too, when we first got married, we did not live here. We lived in Savannah. We moved here because the opportunities that it did provide. So at the time, we were ready to have a baby, ready to have Ben. I didn't want to work full time, and we knew we could not live in an expensive town if I wanted to stay home with my kids, because you don't have a high paying job. And at the time, it was even less high paying. And so when this house came available, it was never our plan to be here in Swainsboro. Like, we were never going to move here.
Right.
But the house is the reason we came.
Yeah. It's like twice the house for half the price.
Yeah. And
That's what we ended up
so,
with.
and we had
we
these.
both got jobs, and we had
the
family
added-
roots and support.
Yeah, the added bonus of my family across the street. All of my siblings were still in high school, still living at home. We had all these babysitters and just people to sort of like wrap our kids up in just across the street. And looking back at the last 15 years, I see all the positives in that. I mean, there's so many wonderful things that we have in our lives because we moved here.
Right. Now, what we were talking about was our current condition, or our current state of living, why we would explore leaving that.
Well, we've always said, I think you and I have always said, it just would have to be something exciting enough.
Right. Media specialist positions are quite competitive.
Yeah, they're hard to come by.
Because there's usually only one or two media specialists, even in very large schools. And if you have 70 faculty members, you may only have one or two media specialists. So just there aren't a whole lot to go around. And so you generally really have to go out and fight for them. And this just sort of landed in my lap. And there's a little more to the story. Basically, to boil it down, the type of position they were looking for was not a straight down the middle media specialist. It was also had a lot of instructional coach in there. And I interviewed with the entire team, the administrative team. And a couple of days later, they called me and said, you know what? We just decided to go in a different direction for that instructional coach position. However, we really liked you, and we think you'd make a fantastic media specialist here. So if we can make, budget-wise, if we can make that happen, we would still like to put that offer on the table. We just can't promise that at this time. Are you even interested? And I said, yes.
So that was the first weekend, or that was like...
That was about 3 weeks ago. So I guess the initial phone call was about a month ago.
Yeah, it was like the end of March is when all that took place. And so that trip that we took, that we talked about on the show, where we went up to North Georgia and we're staying with friends, well, that was
scouting the area and see if we could stand to live there.
That was like, let's go and see this before we accept this job. Let's go make sure, because we're not suburbanites. We like small town life. We really do. We're Catholic in a small town. There's a reason for that. And so I think if we had been the first, we talked about on the show, that first area we went to where it was just strip malls and subdivisions, and traffic, that was not appealing to us.
No,
but the
not at
further
all.
north you get, the closer to Max High School you get, the more green.
The new high school that I'm
the
gonna be
new high
working at.
school, the more green space there is, and there's Lake Lanier there, and the mountains are just 45 minutes away. And so when we came home for the trip, we were like,
we can do that.
we could probably do this. So we were like, well, if they offer you the job, if the job is said, yes, we want you to come, are we going to take it? And it was still theory at that point.
Right.
So we were like, yeah, sure, we'll take it.
Throughout the process, I was praying for God's will and just saying, Lord, either way is cool with me. I would like to know for sure that it's either that you want me to do this or you don't want me to do this. Whatever your will is, Lord, I'm okay with. Just help me discern that. And so I've felt a real peace about that, and that I was open to God telling me, no, this is not what I want you to do. Stay in Swainsboro. But I didn't hear that. I didn't feel that. Windows kept opening. Doors kept opening.
Well,
for
and
this to happen.
everyone we told about it, I mean, people have been, obviously, people that we've told here in town are very sad that we're leaving, which is very flattering, that
Yeah.
it's flattering. But at the same time, everybody we've talked about where we're going has said, oh my gosh, that's the prettiest area, or my family moved there and they love it. Or one girl at work that I told the situation, she said, well, that sounds like a God thing. Like, that's the first thing that came out of her mouth when I told her how it all happened. And which is what we have felt the whole time,
Right.
that it's not that we went looking for this. It's not that the same thing with this house. Like, it's not that we were actively searching to move to North Georgia. It's just that out of the blue, someone remembers you from 6 years ago for this particular job. And for some weird reason,
And that's not even the job they were hiring you for.
right. It's
And they
like,
decided to make the job again
yeah.
for you.
And
then finally they called and said, we're doing this. If you'll take the job, you can have it.
So then he had like 2 days to tell him yes or no. Of course, Mac was like, yes, I'm
I
saying
just
yes.
want to have one more conversation with Catherine, and then I let him know the next day.
And
I
then,
want it.
but once it was a real deal, like once it was an actual fact, all of a sudden I was like, wait a second. No,
Wait, for real?
we can't.
For real,
We
though?
can't. We can't do this. But I said, well, let me imagine if we did say no. If we said no to the job and we turned it down, how are we going to feel in a year? How are we going to feel in 2 years? If we get really unhappy here, not that we would, but if some of the reasons that we're staying, just sort of weren't here anymore, would we always wonder, well, what would have happened in our lives if we had just said yes? Because the simple fact is that Swainsboro is going to be here. If we get up there, I don't think this is going to happen because I don't see it being terrible. But if we get up there and we really hate it, Swainsboro's here. Our family is here. And this town isn't going anywhere. We can move home anytime we want to.
Well, and I didn't want fear
Right.
to be the defining or the driving factor for us not doing anything. Just scared to go.
Right.
I didn't want that to be it.
Yeah, and so it was never about, one of our friends said, well, if you both don't have peace about it, and it's never been about peace, like
Or the lack of.
or the lack thereof. I mean, as soon as the job was sort of on the table, I was like, this just feels like God. It just is too weird to not be God, And so it's never that I don't think that God has us, and that this isn't part of his plan for us. It's just when you've been doing the same thing for 15 years and all of a sudden you're being asked to do something new, there is some genuine fear there.
Intrepidation.
Yeah. So that's what's happening.
That's the big news. That's what's happening.
So I guess the other question is, are we still going to be Catholic in a small town?
Well, yeah, we'll be in a small town. It just is slightly larger than Swainsboro.
Someone, Billy Newton, when I told him what we were doing, he said, oh, you're going to be Atlanta suburbanites. I was like, no, don't say
No,
that.
We will hardly ever go to Atlanta.
I hope yes.
Unless there's
Except
something
IKEA.
really good at the Fox. And IKEA.
Or the High.
And breweries. And the High every month. That's the only reason.
The
we'll
good
ever
reasons.
Go.
We'll go to Atlanta for the good reasons.
Absolutely. Beer and entertainment.
So the next question would probably be, how are the kids? I would imagine.
The kids pretty much fall down the line of their personalities. In that Ben, super compliant, easygoing fella,
Compliant's not a good way to put it. He's just easygoing.
expresses, I'd be sad. But okay, we'll
That
do
sounds exciting, especially when we
Yeah.
showed him the studio at the new high school that he's going to. Actually has like a studio with like professional cameras and a setup and everything. He was kind of all on board about that.
Introvert homebody Sam is like, nope, not leaving, not going to do that. I know you say we are, but that's not happening. I'm going to live here in this house.
Me and Mommy and Jude are going to live here, and Sam and Ben and Daddy can go move to Atlanta.
And Jude's like, wow, is that Fluffy? I want to go at that. So
Jude doesn't
much
really
it.
know what to think right now. As long as he has a neighborhood to ride his bike in and
yeah,
people
some
to
kids
meet,
to play with.
he'll be fine.
He'll
and
be
then when we told him that there would be snow, when we said to all of them, it snows there sometimes, they went, it snows?
Okay.
And then we said, and we'll be 10 minutes from like 3 movie theaters. They said, 10 minutes. They were sold. They're like, our family, our life here in town, see you later. Theaters and snow, we're there.
So that was the big news. And if you would like to hear the rest of our podcast, please go over to catholicinasmalltown.com. You can listen there, or you can go to macandcatherinebarron.com, or you can
Go to iTunes.
Go to iTunes.
You can go to Google Play.
Google Play. You can find us. You can go out on the street. We're probably there. I don't know.
Like and subscribe. I don't want to do that.
Come to Swainsboro. Don't go to Cumming yet. Just go to Swainsboro. Here we are.